with another 8.5 by 11 layout today. I am going to be doing a layout of my daughter after Easter. She got this little sheriff's stuff, so she's going to get dressed up after Easter, opening her Easter basket or getting stuff out of her Easter basket. So that is what I'm working on. And first I'm just going to be taking this bluish aqua paper and I am punching a scallop and then using this crimper tool, which is a tool I have not used in forever, to add some texture. I wanted to do something a little different this time, so that's what I decided to do. And then this white piece of paper is a little bit smaller than 8.5 by 11, so I'm going to be adding this red strip of paper here to the right hand side just to add some length to it. Instead of getting a whole brand new piece of paper, I thought this was going to work because I wanted to have the red accent anyway. So I'm just working on that now and then making sure it all measures up so it's all even. And then I'm going to add that blue corrugated piece here to the left or right hand side, I'm sorry, and just going to be tucked under that white area. So it's going to take me a second to get that all squished in there and get it even. And I'm also going to mimic that red and blue on the left hand side and the top left here in a little bit, so you're going to see that here soon. So that's the picture of my daughter. Like I said, she's in her little kind of sheriff's outfit, or a little masked man, Zorro, what is it, not Zorro, Lone Ranger, that's what it reminds me of, Lone Ranger outfit. So she is dressed up after her Easter basket. So I am now taking a little strip of the silver paper, and my trimmer is not working very well, so on this one I am trimming off the little frizzy bits that were left over, and I just put a little bit of glue on the back, a little dot runner glue, and then I'm going to add this as an accent piece there between the white and that blue scalloped border piece. So now I'm just going to trim that little extra off, and then I am going to start working on, I think, the left hand side. Actually, first, no, I'm going to mount my photo and start working on that, and then I'll add that piece to the top left. So this is just some red plain cardstock, and I wanted to trim my photo down just a little bit. I think there was just a little bit too much space at the top that I didn't want showing, so I just trimmed that off a little bit, and I'm going to mount this to that red cardstock, and then that's going to be the base of this one. I'm not doing a lot of layering on this as far as the photo mat. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just kind of depends on what I'm doing. So I don't think there's really any necessarily rhyme or reason to it. It just depends on how simple or complex I want the layout. In this case, I wanted to kind of keep it a little bit simple. Sometimes with these 8.5 by 11 sheets, I do keep them just a little bit more simple. So that's kind of what I was thinking about on this page. So here I'm going to start working on the left-hand side, like I had mentioned. That Polaroid picture or piece of paper is from that cut apart sheet that you see on the right. It is from October Afternoon, and most of the things that I'm going to be using today on this page are from October Afternoon collection. It's from an old Scraptastic kit that I had in my stash. So here I'm going to take another piece of that corrugated aqua blue color, and I'm going to be punching a scallop in it just like I did earlier, and I'm just going to be doing a littler piece here. I'm going to start with a larger piece, which is a good idea if you're not quite sure how big of a piece of something you're going to be adding. Sometimes it's better to start with a larger piece and then cut it down, because obviously when you have it smaller in the beginning, it's not going to be able to be added onto, or not added onto as easily. So if you're not quite sure how much you want of something, sometimes it's best to just add an extra length of it and then trim down as necessary. So again, I'm just trimming off those little bits that are fraying on my paper from my bad trimmer blade. And I'm going to glue that down here, and then I'm just going to start fiddling with this section, trying to figure out how much and where I want to put it here in the top left. And I just like this. It just kind of mimics and balances out the layout. I thought it looked a little bit lopsided without having something here on the left hand side, so that's why I decided to do it this way. So here I'm going to be gluing it down. I didn't want it quite as thick, so I added it off to the left a little bit more. I'm just going to trim off that excess, and then I didn't want it quite as long either, so I trimmed off that excess as well. And here in a little bit, I didn't like how that red was going below the blue, so I'm going to end up trimming that off as well, so it's just going to be an evenly spaced piece. And I ended up trimming just a little bit more off the width. It was just a little bit too much. I just want a little pop of color in the top left, not too much. And there you go. I am trimming it off so it's all even. And now I'm going to work on my main photo cluster. So what I'm going to do is take this photo and then the Polaroid as my main elements, and then I'm going to put little die cuts and such all around that. First, I'm going to be using this wood veneer piece that came in the kit, and I'm just going to be mounting it on this blue grid paper. And this is where my title and my journaling is kind of going to be ending up on that black and white Polaroid, and then this piece here. And you're going to see that towards the end. You actually don't see me journal because what I end up doing is putting it on a typewriter. I was at a crop when I made this, so I didn't have my typewriter with me. So in the photos at the end, you'll see the journaling on the strips of paper that I typed up on my typewriter. So you can stay tuned for the still shots at the end, and you can see that. So now I'm taking that little flare. I kind of wanted that on the page somewhere, so I added it there for now. It is going to move, and here's a bunch of die cuts that come from October Afternoon that also came in the kit, and then some of them are cut aparts as well. The one I'm fiddling with right now was a cut apart that came in the kit, but some of the arrows and things were from October Afternoon. I'm going to be using an orange chipboard arrow that also came from October Afternoon. Daily Flash, I think this is all these are from the Daily Flash collection. And so I'm just going to fiddle around these layers trying to figure out what is going to work best. I just want to evenly distribute the things around the page. I am going to end up putting an arrow in that top left, but it's going to end up being one of the chipboard arrows as well. And I'm using these labels kind of as anchoring pieces. So wherever I'm putting a label, it just kind of anchors the photo cluster, and I feel like it helps it from looking so floaty. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. So now I'm going to punch out this kind of orangish reddish arrow and that blue arrow. I want to keep that blue arrow at the top there, and then that orangish red arrow with the polka dots is going to go there in the bottom right. And that just kind of points into the photo. I think that is nice because it ends up pointing into my journaling, and it kind of keeps the flow of the layout going without feeling like it's just stagnant. So it kind of makes sure I move around the page. So that's the nice thing about arrows or anything that's kind of directional. It kind of helps you move around the page. So I have the arrow in the top left that kind of moves your eye into the right of the page, and then I have the arrow at the bottom left that, or sorry, bottom right that moves your eye into the left of the page. So it kind of keeps you in the middle instead of your eyes floating off, I guess. That was a very long-winded explanation, but that's kind of how that works. So now I'm just happy with all the layers. I'm going to be gluing these all together. I am going to do some mixed media or very light mixed media in the background. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm gluing all of the pieces to each other, and then I'm going to remove the whole photo cluster thing as one piece, and then I'm going to do my mixed media on the background. So you're going to see that here in a second. For my flare, I'm just using some dimensional adhesive. This is from Stampin' Up. They're called, what are they called? Dimensionals, I think. Stampin' Up dimensionals, and they're nice. If you like the individual pieces instead of buying the larger pieces of foam, these Stampin' Up dimensionals are nice because they do add a little bit of lift, but they're not very thick. Some pop dots and things are really, really thick, but the Stampin' Up dimensionals are a nice height. So if you just want a little bit of height but not too much, they're perfect. And they're really good for these flares because they just go past the depth of the flare, so it just sticks them on without creating any more additional depth to the flare because those are kind of chunky pieces. So now I'm going to use my Mr. Huey's silver, and I just kind of marked off where my photo cluster was so that when I put this down I kind of know where I need to put it. So I'm just using the packaging technique and smushing it around, and I'm going to put it in a couple different places, and I just want it kind of peeking out behind the photo. And I really liked the silver in this case because it really mimicked that kind of silver chevron paper that I have as the little strips on either side of the page. I felt that I needed a little bit more gray in the middle of the page, and I thought this was a perfect way of doing it. It adds just a little bit without being overpowering, and I don't know, for some reason it reminds me of a black and white movie, something like, you know, like The Lone Ranger. I used to watch The Lone Ranger when I was a little kid, and I loved that show, so it reminded me of that, and having that silver background, I don't know, there's something about that that reminded me of that like silver screen, black and white TV show, that type of thing. So now I'm just finishing up sticking everything down. I'm pretty much done here for the most part. All I need to do is add some enamel dots, and then I'm going to add the title. And the title is going to be kind of long. The title is going to say it's a new sheriff in town, and that's a pretty long title for me. Normally my title is Easter or Thanksgiving or swimming or something very simple. So I was pretty proud of myself that I have a new sheriff in town. It may not be all that creative, but you know, when I am not very good at titles, I was pretty happy with myself that I thought of that title. And obviously the photo helped. So I'm just taking some enamel dots from my stash. The title is going to be made with some the October Afternoon Daily Flash in both the little square font and this more scripty font. and I'm going to start sticking that down here. I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing because it is kind of long to watch me. And like I said, after I get this down and I get home after the crop, I do end up adding journaling with my typewriter. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. And the still photos are here at the end. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys, so any comments you'd like to leave are greatly appreciated. So I will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.